Hi students, in this video you are going to learn how to talk about things in common using to, so, either, and neither. I'm Monica Cueva. I'm an ESL instructor for San Diego Continuing Education, and you can use this video with the Project Success 4 textbook by Pearson Education. Let's begin. We'll start with to and either. For positive or affirmative sentences, you can use to. For negative sentences, you can use either. Both to and either use the same word order. For example, I like to work outside and Myra does too. This is a positive sentence, I like, so we use a positive auxiliary verb, does. This means I like to work outside and Myra likes to work outside. We both like to work outside. We have this in common. Similarly, negative sentences also mean that we both have this in common. I don't like to work inside and Myra doesn't either. This means I don't like to work inside, and Myra does not like to work inside. We both do not like to work inside. We have this in common. You'll notice for both sentences, the word order is the same. We first have the subject, Myra, then we have the auxiliary verb. When we use to, it's positive. When we use either, it's negative. And then we end with to. So here we have subject, negative auxiliary verb, and either. You might wonder, what is AUX? That is auxiliary verb. These are verbs that help the main verb. For example, we have do, be, have, can, and will. These are some examples of auxiliary verbs, and we will practice more in this video how to use them. For now, let's begin doing some practice with to and either. So, first we have two positive sentences, and then we have two negative sentences. So you'll need to use to or either. Don't forget about the word order, and let's do the first one together. I prefer to work in an office, and Lisa does too. Good job. This is a positive sentence, so we want to use to, and we want the correct word order. The subject, Lisa, the auxiliary, does, and to. Okay, so now go ahead and press pause and write the other three sentences in your notebook and complete each sentence. When you are finished, you can come back, press play, and check your answers. Okay, so go practice in your notebook, and when you're ready, come back and press play. Okay, so now you should have finished writing the sentences in your notebook. Let's check how you did. So in this one, you need the next sentence, we have the be verb. When you use the be verb, you also need to use the be verb for the auxiliary. So let's check this one out. I was a doctor in China and Sam was too. So you keep the verb in the same tense, was, so we use the past tense auxiliary as well. In the next sentence, I don't enjoy wearing a uniform, and Sam doesn't either. Good job. This is negative, so we want the auxiliary to also be negative. We use don't, so here, because the subject is Sam, we use doesn't. Okay, let's look at the next one. Keanu wasn't a doctor in China, and you weren't either. Good job. Because we use the be verb here, we also need to use the be verb in the second part of the sentence. And they're both in the past tense. Great, let's continue. Let's look at so and neither. So we use to for positive sentences, and we also use so for positive sentences. For example, I like to work outside, and so does Myra. These are both positive, and this means I like to work outside, and Myra likes to work outside. We both like to work outside. For negative sentences, we can use either, but we can also use neither. I don't like to work inside, and neither does Myra. So this means I don't like to work inside, and Myra does not like to work inside. So we both do not like to work inside. We have this in common. So the difference between so and to and either and neither is the word order. So if you look in these sentences, the word order changes. We begin with so, or we begin with neither, then we have the auxiliary, and then we have the subject. We finish the sentence with the subject. In this sentence, we have neither, then the auxiliary, and then the subject. And you'll also notice with neither, this is already negative. So the auxiliary verb is positive. We use don't here, I don't like, and then we say, and neither does Myra. This is now positive because we use neither. Let's practice. So here are our sentences. And remember, with affirmative sentences, we use so. Negative sentences, we use neither. Don't forget about the word order. And don't forget about the auxiliary verbs. Pay close attention to those. Okay, so now you can press pause, go to your notebook, complete these sentences in your notebook, and when you're ready, you can come back, press play, and check your answers. Okay, great. So you should have finished the sentences in your notebook. Let's see how you did. The first one, I enjoy working on a computer, and so does Lisa. Good job. The second one, Olivia will look for a job next month, and so will I. Good. We use the auxiliary verb will. The next one, don't forget about the word order. I don't want to work weekends, and neither does Sam. Good job. And the last one, Keanu didn't go to the conference last month, and neither did I. Good job. You want to use the same auxiliary in the past tense. Very good. Okay, let's move on and look at some examples of conversation. In conversation, when we're speaking, we often use the informal form me too when it's positive and we have the same thing in common. For example, she says, I'm a very organized person. And her friend agrees. She says, me too. I'm also very organized. But their other friend says, oh no, not me. Please show me how I can be more organized. So these two are both organized. They have that in common. Their friend is not organized. She needs some help. Okay, let's look at another example. With me neither. When one sentence is negative, we can use me neither. For example, she says, I'd like to talk more about this. Can we schedule a meeting for tomorrow at 4 p.m.? Ooh, and he says, I'm not available for a meeting tomorrow. This is negative, so she responds and says, me neither. She is also not available for a meeting tomorrow. Okay, so that's it for our practice with talking about things in common with to, so, either, and neither. Remember, you can review this video as many times as you would like. You can go back to certain parts and watch them again. And when you're ready, you can move on and do more practice with your teacher. Okay, thank you so much and good job.